Good morning, Megan. It's Thursday, and today it is raining as we speak. Happy overconsumerist fall holiday, which we refer to Thanksgiving. Anyway, I would like to tell you about my trip to DC, and here it goes. So first, Sunday night, I took all these things and I put them into these bags, which ended up looking like this. I very much missed my whale purse while I was gone. It made me sad. I then went to bed at about 10:30, and I was completely unable to sleep more than 3 hours the whole night. I woke up at 4 a.m. and I got dressed, and then I got more dressed, and took my Pikachu Indigo off my bed. My breakfast consisted of peaches and cream oatmeal, my favorite kind. I was very tired. Do you want to know how my eyes felt? They hurt. I arrived at the buses around 5:30, and my friends made funny faces at the camera because they don't at all understand what vlogging is, and they just seem to think I'm taking pictures of them. We then boarded the buses shortly before 6, and Indigo held Crystal's seat until she got there. I gazed out the window the whole ride from Pittsburgh to Washington, D.C., and was completely unable to sleep because the scenery was so beautiful, even when there wasn't much to see. The darkness was marked by small colorful glimmers like Christmas lights draped over the skyline, and I watched trees go by that I couldn't identify. I saw the sunrise unfold right before my window, and it's beautiful. I observed people using wind energy wisely, and I took funny pictures of my friends while they were sleeping, at least until they woke up. Most of the time I danced wildly with my Pikachu to music that only I could hear. I frequently took time to be mesmerized by the amount of trees around us. So many trees! Once we arrived in D.C., we crossed the Potomac River, and I was completely unable to avoid lens flare for the rest of the whole trip. I then realized how I've been feeling for the past 3 hours or so. Tired. I had salmon sushi for lunch in this place, and it was good, and then I encountered these protesters which no one understood. There were these buildings, and some important buildings, and more with just fancy architecture, statues and monuments and memorials and such, not to mention lens flare, and fountains, and how I felt. I feel like a tourist. Terrible. But of course, we are tourists. But that's not exactly a bad thing. I mean, I think it's a bad name that we put to a good subject. I would rather think of us as explorers. I mean, this is, after all, what we're doing. We're exploring, we're going to new places and seeing things and learning. But what are we learning? Are we even learning? I mean, all we're seeing is stone walls and pillars and statues and water and weird shapes, and maybe we learn, but most of us just stand there and smile and we take pictures and we say, oh, I went to D.C. Well, what did you learn? Well, I don't know. Did I learn anything? And I don't think it's always appropriate to take pictures and smile because it's kind of sad. I mean, most of the places we go are sad, and yet we smile. And almost all of them symbolize death or conquest over other people's lives or the lives or doings of a person or group. And it was built on the people's memories. But they're dead now, so maybe it's sad, or maybe it's happy. Happy to remember, and happy to celebrate, or sad to mourn, and sad to have lost. Either way, when we touch these stone walls, what are we learning? Maybe we've learned to understand what is valued in this nation. I think I've learned that our nation values its lives. Maybe I do, or don't agree with this. But it's not important. What's important is that I have learned it, and I came to a place symbolizing death of others due to war, conflict, and dissentment, and brought a necklace symbolizing the opposite. I learned that consumerism isn't just a stereotype, it's a way of life. We went to a mall that has 4 floors, and my friends dragged me into girly stores in which I purchased nothing. And on Tuesday we went to Mount Vernon, where we toured the house, saw animals, and I was confused by an unmentionable event which changed my week. And not to mention, there was a view that could kill, and there was more walking. And then Zach hit Livy in the head with a rock, which caused her to go ham, and they fought, which was generally entertaining. This was followed by various museums, out of which I saw many boring things, and also many touching things, and many things in which I found interesting. My favorite thing was obviously this thing, because I love whales. I learned a lot at that museum, or maybe I learned nothing. Maybe I was too distracted. I don't know. Wednesday we spent most of the day making our way to and from the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier for a changing of the guards and a wreath laying by our school, which I have no footage of because silly me left my camera on the bus. So then, after seeing these stones and feeling the dead, I sat on that bus and felt dead as well as we made our 7-hour drive home, through the all but silence of the night, as my brain ripped itself apart over teenage girl things, and everyone else tried to sleep. With so much on my mind, I just stared out into the darkness, understanding nothing, not even myself. Megan, I may or may not see you on Sunday.